All right, you maggots, listen up. Now, I've been watching how many people look at the BBSing stories. So it was called Bulletin Board Systems, but we used to call ourselves BBSers, and there was a lot to it. And I did learn a lot about people while doing that. But of course, as time fades, you don't realize how nasty some people can get. Now, I told you you would contact certain sysops. Um, One of the bulletin boards, for a little extra money, the guy would let you into different conferences, not conferences, different file sections, and maybe in there would be a software program that's been out a while and an older copy of it, or he had an adult GIF picture section. So you donate some money, and then the next time you go on the bulletin board, you get a message from him thanking you for sending the money, and you now have access to the door. See, or to the file section. He can tell by the check that you're an adult. So anyway, that was one of the things that happened. That was different. Now, me myself, I started hooking up with people that had some information that I didn't know. So I started programming in BASIC, and it would be I don't it wasn't Quick Basic, it was GW GWiz Basic, Basic that came with I don't want to say Windows, but with the computer you could get it was built into DOS, and I was working with that, and I started doing these weird things. Like I went to Egghead. Remember Egghead? There was a store you went to, and they sold different books. And in there was a book with astronomical programs in BASIC, and you had to take a part of a BASIC program which would give you the Julian date. I think I'm saying it right. And you had to have that in every one of the programs. You had to understand that. And I spent days. And what I would do is when the person would come in to the bulletin board, they would get hit with a text file. And it would say, the full moon is 3 days away. And the dawn, was it dawn, with the sunrise and sunset. All right, that's what it was. And would tell you the hours. So when you come into my bulletin board, you were hit with the first screen you were hit with was the name of the bulletin board. Then when you hit enter again, you hit with this quick little text file that said the full moon is, if it's in the waxing or waning or whatever. And then later on, I put in little graphics to show what the moon was doing and how many days to full moon, how many, and then I did today the sun is going to set at so and so o'clock. All right, so I did other things other than that. I had real quick. I mean, this page just going quick. If you didn't want to read it, you just hit return and you go past it. It would tell you the next shooting star events. I'm trying to think of what would you call that? But anyway, certain times of the year, I think meteor showers, Perseus, whatever they were, and people contact me. Hey, can I have that program? And I'm like, no, that's special. I wrote that. Well, where did you get it? And then I tell them how I did it, and they didn't like that. They wanted me just to give them the program that ran. When they come in, you'd open the door up, and you could run a batch file, and it would. So the data was brand new for them. So I started getting into analog to digital chips, and I showed you that board that you could make your little project on the back of an AT board, which the guy says to me it's really an XT board. But let's just say you can put a project on the back of a board that goes in a computer and use it as the interface. And then when you call up the address for that UART, you can actually put data in or out of the board. So I started reading voltages in through that circuit board, and I realized that I can put a thermistor outside the house, and I can read the voltage and turn it into temperature. And then I can take that, and first on the thing it says the temperature in the free-for-all BBS in North Arlington is also 75 degrees, just as a number, along with the meteor showers and the how are you doing that? I tell them, I want the program. I can't give you the program. That makes my bulletin board unique. So then I start thinking, I got into, bulletin boards use ANSI graphics, but PC board used its own kind, which was more compressed and streamlined. So I took a program, a basic program, and I actually put in the characters. So when you come in, it was 75 degrees. It would jump around in the program, in the basic program, and select the building blocks to form a thermometer that was at 75 degrees. And it wasn't slow. And I started getting nervous. I had to really compact the program because basic can be slow. And you have a batch file. Whenever somebody enters, you can do caller ID, you can measure the outside temperature, all these things, and then the computer that goes then loads the bulletin board. The person never sees the fact that they've triggered a bunch of events. So I'm talking to this one syslop, and he goes, John, if you're getting into BASIC, he says, you can go buy a copy of Quick Basic, and it has a compiler in it. And I sort of understood what a compiler was. That you take your code and you compile it, it becomes an executable file or .com. He says, just take your basic program that you're using, the GW basic with a batch file, and he says you run it through this Quick Basic compiler, and sometimes it screws up, and you got to get in it and figure out what you did wrong. But in other words, it produces an executable. So when the person comes through the front door of the bulletin board, the batch file runs the executable file, which then makes the thermometer. It gets the sunset from the basic program for astronomical stuff. So it forms this nice little page. And I had several people leave me really nasty emails. They demanded that program. Well, back in those days, your name was in the phone book along with the phone number. So this guy calls me up. And he's threatening my life because I won't give him the program. And I said, look, dude, I spent over a month on that because I'm not good at any programming. And it ain't going to happen. But he got really forceful. And I'm like, see, I didn't really carry that stuff over when I started doing YouTube, that there were people that did that. There were people that would email me because my address was there to buy the book for the CNC stuff. And one guy was a cop, and he was trying to scare me. He wanted to come to my house and see the machine operate. There were a few of them. There weren't just one cop. And they were local cops, and they weren't from my town. So I didn't want any strangers in my house. So I really haven't learned a lot from those experiences. But the guy opened the door for me when he says, you can take your basic program, run it through a compiler. It was a Quick Basic compiler. And it becomes an executable, and it runs super fast. I mean, the thing that did the thermometer and all that, it took about a second or 2 seconds. But when you use the executable, it's instantaneous, and it would produce a file, a picture file for not Windows, for a PC board. I can't even think of it was ASCII. Well, anyway. It would form an ASCII file, and then it would put it in a certain directory because you did that. It would look for that, and that would be the page it would load, and you're like, holy crap, this is working great. So I got a lot of tricks, and then that's when I went into the caller ID stuff. And one of the horrible things that happened was one of the guys from the church, when years before I went to church, say up until 1970. And now it's a few years later, and the guy from the church that I was good friends with, his son is now 17 years old or whatever, and he wants access to my adult web section. And you had to be, I think, 21 New Jersey. Well, anyway, he starts telling me he's going to F my mother's skull and all this stuff. And then I looked up his phone number and found out who he was. And there's people that have reverse phone books. I should mention that. Reverse phone books have the numbers in sequence, and you look up at the number and you can find. It turned out to be the guy from church's kid, and I remember when that kid was born. But here he was being real nasty. But With the caller ID, all I did was have to put his phone number in, and it would give him the finger and hang up on him. But there was so much going on with bulletin board systems. And one of the biggest fiascos, however you want to pronounce it, was there were these doors. And there was king of the board, there was food fight. And you'd come in food fight, and you could get extra points and use them for when you had a food fight, you could hold the sheet of plastic up so they couldn't get you really bad. It was all done with text. And there were people that would open multiple accounts, and they would go after the guy with the most points using the multiple accounts. And then they would come in and then get extra points each time. Nobody could attack them because they were using their points not to fight. They were buying shields. And anyway, they were cheating. And with the caller ID, you could see, you watch them, they come in at night, and they come in 3-4 times in a row, and they're attacking the winner, and they make themselves the winner. And then with King of the Board, you would see them, they would download the program King of the Board, and then they would, it came with a sample amount of questions, and then they would read the questions and the answers, then come back in and get the highest points. Well, I fixed them. I sat there, and I figured out how to an unregistered program. It's unregistered. You register. You can then get. You're allowed to add your own questions and answers. So I contacted the author, and I paid for money, and I got the King of the Board, and I sat down and I went through not a dictionary, but like an encyclopedia. I started putting my own questions and answers in there. And what they would do is they'd call up, get a question. They do it a few times, and then they make sure they had the answer. And so I did a whole bunch of questions, and then nobody wanted to play the game anymore because they couldn't cheat. So at one point, there was a chess game, and I don't remember the name of the chess game, but it had its own interface. That means the person, it was like Robocom. They could have this chess game interface call multiple bulletin boards, go in and play one game. See, the chess guys used to make one move every day or maybe twice a day. And these people also played through the mail with the postage system. They would play chess with a guy in California. There was a postcard they would use. And they would send a chess move to the guy in California. He'd make his move, and they'd send the postcard back. And I met these people. So there was an ability to buy this program, to put it as a door on the computer, on the bulletin board, and it was $100-something. And then they had to pay $35 to get the interface. Well, I didn't charge, and I left it up there, and all these people were coming from all over the country to play in my chess games because I had a registered copy, and they could open multiple games. I think if you weren't registered, you can open maybe 2 games. And if you wasn't registered, well, anyway, they were abusing it. They were using it, but they didn't want to pay nothing. So you could put a message in that program when they came in and say, if you enjoy playing this game, could you please think about $1 per year? A freaking dollar, right? One person out of 100 people sent me the $1. And I'm sitting there, and I talked to her on the phone. She worked for the post office. She's the one that taught me about the postcards. She says, yeah, she used to play chess with other people in the United States using a postcard. And then she says, this is really good. And this is before the internet, don't forget. And she was thanking me, and she sent me the crappy $1. And I started getting I started saying, you know what? I'm buying a new modem every few months for $350. And you go in, you wake up in the morning, you go down, and you find this message. And I'll tell you the guy's name, Roland Steiner. Okay, good old Roland Steiner. Or I used to refer to him as Roland Stinker. He showed up at a ham flea market, and I had all my extra stuff in my house that I didn't need anymore. And I had a sign. I said, the proceeds from these items that I'm going to sell is going to go towards the bulletin board system, making it grow. So he comes up and he stands in front. He's this little short little midget guy, wasn't actually a midget. He was a little guy with his girlfriend, and as he's talking to me, he's reversing from one foot to another. I don't know if you've ever seen people do that. He was a bag of nerves, and he goes, "You, how come you don't have conferences? Huh? Huh? Huh?" Like that. He's talking like, "Yeah," and then he told me who he was, and I'm like, "You do nothing for the bulletin board." Well, I'm at all right. So now he's starting to aggravate me, and his girlfriend realizes he's going to get hit because he insulted me. He says, "Can't you afford a real modem?" And I had just bought a real Hayes modem for $250. And in my mind, I still have that price tag. Now right as I bought mine, a week later, a faster modem come out, which he had, and he had left a message on my bulletin board. When you going to upgrade your modem? See, he's out looking for bulletin boards that now go faster. And this is these people, and in my mind, I didn't realize there were this many rotten people out there. But at some point, the girl realized I was going to hit him, and I was twice his size, and I was going to hit him. Normally, I would never hit a small person, but he was a little prick. So she pulls him away, and she looks back at me, and she sort of rolls her eyes at me like, "I'm really sorry." But as far as modems, Hayes modems were considered the best. They could be very quirky. And then I think it's PPI, Practical Peripheral Interface Industries, PPI, was a modem that came out. It was a Hayes modem, but it was $75 instead of $250. So I started buying those modems, and they were just as good. And I got heavily into modems. People could bring me a modem that was totally screwed up, and I could reset it to factory settings. It was AT&F1, factory setting 1, whatever. And I became the modem guy. And there was a modem that came out that would only work between the same kind of modem. It would do 1200 baud, 2400 baud, and I think 9800. And it was, I forget the name of the modem. It had a weird name to it. But they came out with this, and they went around leaving messages to all the sysops. And everybody went with that modem. I waited a little while longer and got a 14.4. And because it just every few weeks a faster modem come out. Now I ended up with a 28.8 with a certain type of compression. I forget what it was, but in other words, you were always buying a modem. So I can tell you the prices. You had to buy a modem every 3 months for $250 approximately. Your electricity for two or three computers running in the house was $40. You also had to update like simple little things like the UART. When it goes to a faster modem, you have to take the UART out of the serial board and put in this UART that had a special buffer in it, so it wouldn't crash. And I had all this stuff, and I was so into it. And then you realize at some point you got Rollin stinkers out there, and people that constantly leave you horrible, horrible messages. They want to skull F your mother because you won't let them into the adult section. Oh, and ANSI bombs. I tracked down this kid. He was a little Chinese kid. He lived in a horrible section of this thing. I got his caller ID number, and then using the reverse phone book through this other guy, through the church. One of the churches, the guy had a reverse phone book, and he gave me the kid's address. And I went there, and I said, you know what? There's nothing I can do to this kid that isn't already being done to him. Because he lived in a really crappy house. Really, it looked like the Munsters type of house. But so many things happened every day. You stayed so busy. And then the other thing that happened was people constantly changed the software. So you had a door on your bulletin board, and then PC board would change the way the door worked, and then half your games wouldn't work. And then you had to go to each one of these gamers and tell them, and they would fix that. So you could spend 2 or 3 days just getting stuff that you had working because PC board decided to add another data bit into that to help something else. And then sometimes they would make a mistake. I would spend 8 hours on it, hours on the phone, hundreds of dollars in phone calls to PC board to find out they made a mistake. And I helped them find it. Now, the other thing I come up with was log off testing. Now, when you would go on a bulletin board and you would upload a program, remember it was shareware, you would upload a program and you had to sit there while it unpacked it or unzipped it. It would test it for viruses and CRC errors. It would then put it all back together, put it away. In some bulletin boards, it would put it away. PC board had a little file that went in there, and it would automatically write in the description. So if you uploaded this software to somebody, a zip file, it would, if you were a trusted uploader, it would put it immediately into the download section, and that you uploaded it, when you uploaded it, and a little description of what's in the program. And it was all done. It was getting more and more fancy, like you couldn't believe. And I come up with this idea of log off testing. Now, how log off testing worked. If you went on a bulletin board and uploaded a really big file, normally you had to sit there until it uploaded, it got unpacked and got tested, and then you get credit for having uploaded so many bytes. Anyway, so I come up with log off testing. What log off testing would do is it would check the file for CRC, and then when you would let you do other things on the bulletin board. And if you had a Z modem, you could download and upload at the same time. The bulletin board would wait till you left. When you left, it would drop to DOS. It would test the program you uploaded. It would busy out the phone line. It would test the program that you uploaded, and then if it was good, it would put it in the download section, right? And there would be no phone time wasted. Remember, if you're calling out of your area code, it was 10 cents a minute. So you uploaded a file to a guy, and you didn't have to sit while it was tested. You had to sit while it was being uploaded, but if you had Z modem, you could also be downloading at the same time you're uploading. I don't remember if you could go, I think you could. You could go around and look through the bulletin board system, and it would be uploading the modem, the software to let you upload and download at the same time. So it would let you move between the pages of the bulletin board while your program was being uploaded. The only problem is when it did finish the upload, it would make you sit online and wait to have it tested. And if you drop carrier, it would mark that file as being bad. So I come up with this thing, and I used to go on Salt Air's bulletin board, and I leave messages. Took me 2 days to explain log off testing to those morons. All right, now here's what they did. All those messages were public. Me trying to explain to these programmers what I was talking about, and other people are now chiming in. How it's so simple, and some of these guys, they're trying to help me that have already added it. Well, anyway, they deleted all those messages that I left, and then they put it in as part of their program. And then I found that they did that to a few other guys that come up with the software to make the like X modem, Z modem, XY modem, whatever it was. These were software packages. They just put it into their bulletin board package, and they did it to the guy that come up with the quick packets. They just let them take us to court. So they took the quick pack idea that this guy come up with, and I used to talk with him on the phone. I had his mail sorter, and he goes, they just put it in their software, and they're daring me to take them to court, which he knows he's going to lose, so he didn't. And that's what they were, and they did that to me, and I was so stupid, you know. And then the guys that were trying to help me, they started emailing me, you know, they took all your messages away, and they put it into their new product, and I'm like, yeah. What are you going to do? You know? But they couldn't understand how you could CRC check the file after it was uploaded real quick, and you put it in a directory, and then the person would leave, and then the bulletin board would drop that node or that modem to DOS. It would drop. It would hold the carrier on the phone line, so it would be busy. it would test the file for malware, viruses, and then if the person was known to be good, it would move the program over to the file section, and then it had a file ID, file viz, FID. Well, anyway, file ID. It was fuzz viz. Anyway, it would automatically write the description in the file description because it had this little file ID file in it. So I got like really into this thing, and I come up with a lot of ideas. It just got ripped off. That's why when these people wanted me to tell them how I did the thermometer, I'm like, no, that ain't gonna happen. I think that's it. All right, that's it.